Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.
At 100 years old, a veteran from McPherson is looking back at his role in training hundreds of American soldiers for one of the most dangerous jobs in trying to defeat Japan.
KSN's Hannah Adamson and photojournalist Nick Kiefer have this week's Veteran Salute.
Born and raised in McPherson, Carl Casey joined the Navy in 1943. At the time, the Navy desperately needed more commissioned officers to train recruits. That's why in July 1943, the Navy launched its V-12 college training program, which Casey would soon be a part of.
I had 3 years of college. Most of them were just out of high school. One of the doctors said, shine a flashlight in one ear, and if it does not come out the other ear, sign him up.
In the summer of 1943, Carl Casey would head to the College of St. Thomas in St. Paul, Minnesota, taking part in the brand new V-12 Navy college training program.
And that was kind of like boot camp for the Navy. I took a course in chemistry and a course in German, which didn't do me any good because I was later sent to the Pacific and not to Europe.
After a semester there, Casey was sent to Columbia University for midshipman's school, becoming proficient in Morse code and semaphore code.
In those days, the radios were not as good as today, and the Japanese could intercept their messages. So if they were close enough, they used all of these different flags, which we were supposed to memorize.
Another difficult task, learning to identify aircraft.
This was the hardest course I took there. To take a test, they flashed these on a screen and you had to write down the name of the airplane within about 3 seconds.
Upon graduation, Casey would receive orders to San Diego Amphibious Operating Base, heading for the Hawaiian Islands on D-Day.
They announced over the radio that the Allies had landed in France, so I can always remember I left the United States on June the 6th, 1944.
Casey would primarily serve on the island of Maui, training Army recruits in amphibious warfare.
They built a tall wooden dock there to represent a troop ship, and it was about 4 stories high. Army groups would come there, walk up the ramp to the top, and they'd come down on cargo nets, carrying a rifle, a small shovel, all the other gear they needed on that island.
From there, the recruits would climb aboard what's known as an LCVP, short for Landing Craft Vehicle Personnel.
When it was full, the coxswain who drove it would go out about half a mile in the Pacific Ocean and make a circle and just keep circling until all 8 were out there. Would give a signal, and that circle of boats would straighten out into one line and fastly go to the beach. When the bottom of the landing craft hit sand, the soldiers would jump out into a foot or 2 of water, get up on the beach and either dig a hole or get behind trees to pretend like we didn't want the Japanese to shoot at them.
After his time on Maui, Casey would receive orders to an amphibious operating base in Bainbridge, Maryland, before retiring a Lieutenant JG. Casey says he's proud to have been part of the support team for those who would fight in the Pacific Theater.
We were doing our job, they were doing their job, and both were needed. So I was satisfied with what I was doing and satisfied what they were doing.
Casey would serve 10 years in the reserves. He would also go on to teach 9th grade science in McPherson for 28 years, retiring at the age of 83. Here for you, Hannah Adamson, KSN News 3.
On behalf of Devon James Injury Lawyers, we're honored to recognize this week's veteran who served our country in World War II, Navy veteran Carl Casey. Thank you so much for your service.
Lieutenant Casey, we're very excited to present you this check for $500.
Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.